Also president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers in Los Angeles. And Neama, thanks for being with us. Let me ask you this. Broadcasters can be sued, so can lawyers, even presidents, according to the Supreme Court. So why not cops?
Del, I agree with you, and that's one of the major reforms in the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act that's working its way through Congress, that qualified immunity. Law enforcement should be held personally accountable when they engage in civil rights violations. And there's a number of other reforms that the Act promises, including lowering the mens rea or the intent requirement from willingly just to knowingly or even recklessly. That would be a significant improvement for lawyers like ourselves that want to hold police officers accountable for their wrongdoing.
Ugly underbelly now for the first time.
No question that we are. And it's not just the police unions, it's local prosecutors that for years haven't done the right thing and go after police officers and prosecute them. Let's not forget that Derek Chauvin was tried and convicted because Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota, stepped in and did the right thing. Same thing we're dealing with Ahmaud Arbery down in Georgia. The Attorney General of Georgia had to step in. And one of the things that the act does is call for more Department of Justice and state attorney general oversight of these local law enforcement officers.
Neama, I want to talk about solutions because we spend an awful lot of time talking about the problems. There is a difference between the cop that stops a murder and the cop that pulls you over because you ran a red light. After all, you never hear stories about the man or woman that gives you a parking ticket shooting you. So why do they have to have a gun? Why do the people that do those traffic laws always have to come knocking on our window, armed to the teeth with full body armor in black neighborhoods?
It's a significant problem, Del, and it's a criminal justice and a public policy problem. Unfortunately, in this country, half of our population is armed. You don't have these issues in other countries. Law enforcement in Europe, they're generally not armed. And that's why we have such a significant problem in this case. One of the other things the Act does, fortunately, is call for mandatory body cams and police video cams for officers, federal officers, and incentives for state and local law enforcement to do the same so we can hold these. But I agree. The reason law enforcement has to be armed in this country is because we have such a problem with guns here.
Neama, let me ask you a question before we go. I've got about 30 seconds left, but is there a flaw in the system where we actually have cops on so many of these programs telling us how to fix cops? Isn't that like putting the fox in charge of the hen house?
It is, Del. That's why we really need civilian oversight. In cities like Los Angeles, where I'm from, we have civilians who oversee our police department to really improve the relationship between law enforcement and the public. And I encourage other large jurisdictions to do the same because it goes a long way.
Neama Rahmani joining us from Los Angeles. Neama, as always, thank you very much for being with us, and this conversation will continue.